If you opened a magazine in the 1960s, you'd see her face everywhere. Those violet eyes that seemed impossible, like they'd been painted by an artist who'd never seen real human eyes. Perfect features that made photographers weep with joy. Diamonds the size of eggs around her neck. A new husband every few years. Scandals that made headlines worldwide. Her name was Elizabeth Taylor. And she wasn't just a movie star. She was the last movie star. The final person who lived like Hollywood royalty was supposed to live. Without apology, without restraint, without caring what anyone thought. This is Liz's journey from a child actress to the highest paid star in the world. From 8 marriages to 2 Oscars, from beauty that stopped nations to a body that nearly killed her multiple times. This is the story of a woman who refused to be anything less than herself, even when herself was too much for the world to handle. February 27th, 1932, in Hampstead, London, Elizabeth Rosemond Taylor was born to American parents living abroad. Her father, Francis, was an art dealer. Her mother, Sarah, a former stage actress who'd given up performing to marry. They were upper middle class, cultured, comfortable. Elizabeth was an extraordinarily beautiful child from birth. Perfect features, porcelain skin, and those eyes. Those impossible violet blue eyes with a double row of eyelashes that made her look permanently made up, even as a baby. When war threatened Europe in 1939, the family moved back to America, settling in Los Angeles where Francis opened a gallery. Sarah, seeing her daughter's beauty, had other ideas. Hollywood was right there, or why not try? Elizabeth was cast in her first film at age 10. There's One Born Every Minute in 1942. Then Universal dropped her, said she couldn't sing. But MGM saw something Universal missed. They signed her. In 1944, at 12, she starred in National Velvet, playing a girl who rides her horse to victory. The film was a massive hit. Elizabeth Taylor became a star at 12 years old. But unlike most child stars who fade, Elizabeth only became more beautiful, more captivating. She transitioned to adult roles seamlessly, that rare child actor who became an even bigger adult star. The 1950s made her a legend. Father of the Bride in 1950, then A Place in the Sun in 1951 opposite Montgomery Clift, who became her lifelong close friend. You Giant in 1956 with James Dean and Rock Hudson, Elizabeth holding her own against 2 of the biggest male stars. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in 1958, playing Maggie opposite Paul Newman, nominated for an Oscar. She was the most beautiful woman in the world, and she could act. That combination was lethal. Studios paid her more money than any actress had ever made. She had everything: fame, beauty, wealth, power. But her personal life was chaos from the beginning. She married hotel heir Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr. at 18 in 1950. A massive wedding, a quick disaster. Nicky was abusive, an alcoholic, divorced within months. Marriage number 2, British actor Michael Wilding, 20 years older in 1952. Had 2 sons with him. But Wilding was too gentle, too passive. She dominated him. Divorced 1957. Marriage 3, film producer Mike Todd in 1957. And this one she loved truly. He was dynamic, exciting, matched her energy. They had a daughter, Liza. Then, in March 1958, Mike Todd died in a plane crash. Elizabeth was devastated, genuinely destroyed. She'd finally found a man who could handle her intensity, and he was gone. Grieving and lost, she turned to Mike Todd's best friend, singer Eddie Fisher, for comfort. Problem: Eddie Fisher was married to America's sweetheart, Debbie Reynolds, Elizabeth's close friend. The scandal was nuclear. Elizabeth stole Eddie from Debbie. America hated her, called her a homewrecker. She didn't care. Married Eddie Fisher in 1959, marriage number 4. But it was based on grief and rebellion, not love. It wouldn't last. Then came 1963 and Cleopatra. 20th Century Fox was betting everything on this epic about Egypt's legendary queen. They wanted Elizabeth for Cleopatra and paid her an unprecedented $1 million, making her the highest-paid actress in history. The production was a disaster, going wildly over budget, Elizabeth getting sick constantly, shutting down for months. And then she met her Mark Antony, Richard Burton. Welsh actor, hard-drinking, brilliant, charismatic. He was married, she was married. Neither cared. The affair exploded across front pages worldwide. Le Scandale, Rome newspapers called it. The Vatican denounced her. Politicians condemned her. And Elizabeth and Richard didn't give a damn. They were obsessed with each other, destructive, passionate, impossible. She divorced Eddie Fisher. Burton divorced his wife. In 1964, Elizabeth and Richard married in Montreal. Marriage number 5. And it was everything. Love, fights, drinking, in brilliance, destruction. They were Hollywood's most famous couple, making films together, fighting publicly, drinking champagne and vodka at breakfast, dripping in jewels Richard bought her. The most famous was the Taylor-Burton Diamond, 69 carats, one of the world's largest. He bought her La Peregrina, a legendary pearl Mary Tudor once owned. She wore jewels worth millions casually to lunch. They lived like royalty because they were Hollywood royalty. But the drinking and fighting were killing them. They divorced in 1974, then remarried in 1975. Marriage number 6. Still couldn't make it work. Divorced again in 1976. Richard Burton was the love of her life, and they couldn't survive each other. After Burton, she married politician John Warner in 1976. Marriage 7. Tried to be a politician's wife in Virginia. Hated it. Gained weight. Got depressed. Divorced 1982. Marriage 8. Construction worker Larry Fortensky, 20 years younger, whom she met in rehab. Married at Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch in 1991. Divorced 1996. 8 marriages. 7 husbands. A lifetime of trying to find someone who could match her intensity. Through it all, she kept acting. Won her first Oscar for Butterfield 8 in 1960, though many said it was a sympathy vote after she nearly died from pneumonia during filming. Won her second Oscar for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf in 1966, playing Martha opposite Richard Burton's George in Mike Nichols' brutal masterpiece. She was magnificent, raw, ugly, real, showing she wasn't just a beautiful face, but a genuine actress. But by the 1970s and 80s, her health was failing. Back problems from filming National Velvet as a child. Decades of drinking. Pills for pain, pills for anxiety, pills for sleeping. Weight yo-yoed dramatically. She'd be thin, then heavy, then thin again. Each time hospitalized for something: pneumonia, back surgery, hip replacements, brain tumor, skin cancer. She nearly died multiple times. Each time the press wrote obituaries. Each time she survived. Then AIDS arrived. In the 1980s, when AIDS was killing thousands and most of Hollywood stayed silent, Elizabeth spoke up. Her friend Rock Hudson died of AIDS in 1985. Elizabeth, devastated, decided to fight. She co-founded the American Foundation for AIDS Research in 1985 and the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation in 1991. Used her fame to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. Testified before Congress. Made AIDS a mainstream cause when others were too afraid of the stigma. And this activism became her legacy as much as her films. The 1990s and 2000s, Elizabeth was more famous for being Elizabeth Taylor than for acting. Her last significant film role was 1994's The Flintstones, playing Wilma's mother. She'd become a legend, an icon, a living piece of old Hollywood. Younger generations knew her name but hadn't seen her films. She was simply famous for being famous, for those 8 marriages, for those jewels, for surviving everything. Her health continued declining. Heart surgery, more hip replacements. Confined to a wheelchair, but she kept living at her Bel Air mansion, surrounded by her children, grandchildren, those legendary jewels. On March 23, 2011, at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, Elizabeth Taylor died of congestive heart failure. She was 79 years old. Her children were with her, and the world mourned, not just because a great actress died, but because the last real movie star was gone. Elizabeth Taylor was the end of something, the end of Hollywood glamour that wasn't manufactured, the end of stars who lived larger than life without apology, the end of an era when beauty and scandal and talent could combine into genuine legend. Her jewelry collection was auctioned by Christie's in 2011, raised over $116 million, proceeds going to her AIDS foundation. That Taylor-Burton Diamond Richard gave her sold for nearly $9 million. Even in death, she was supporting the cause she'd fought for. Today, her films remain classics. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is studied in acting classes. Cleopatra, despite its troubled production, is Hollywood legend. And those photographs of her in the 1950s and 60s, that face, those eyes, still define what movie star beauty means. But more than the films, Elizabeth Taylor proved you could live exactly as you wanted. 8 marriages? So what? Scandal? Don't care. Weight gain? None of your business. AIDS activism when it was unpopular? Do it anyway. She refused to apologize for being herself. Messy, passionate, demanding, generous, flawed, magnificent. In an industry that tried to control and manufacture stars, Elizabeth Taylor was genuinely herself, always. And that's why she was the last real movie star, because being manufactured wasn't in her. An empty film set, lights dimmed, a director's chair with Elizabeth Taylor embroidered on the back. On the seat, a pair of enormous diamond earrings catching the light. And if you close your eyes, you can almost see her, those impossible violet eyes, that knowing smile, dripping in jewels and attitude, lighting a cigarette, pouring champagne, laughing at something scandalous she just said, not giving a damn what anyone thought because she was Elizabeth Taylor. And some people live carefully, quietly, apologizing for taking up space. Elizabeth Taylor lived loudly, magnificently, taking up all the space she wanted. The last star who lived like stars were supposed to, without limits, without apologies, without fear. Some beauty fades, some legends grow. So how do you remember Elizabeth Taylor? As the violet-eyed beauty who defined Hollywood glamour, or as the woman who refused to live by anyone's rules but her own? Share with us in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another journey through Hollywood's most legendary and unapologetic icons.